And very somber, and
yes,
we back, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for being here. This show is brought to you by our good friends at Tailgate USA. Thank them very much for holding us down on this Monday, this dreary Cowboy Monday. Bryan Broaddus. The Cowboys lose.
Yeah.
To the Carolina Panthers 30-27. I had this little quote in week 2, Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, with this offense, you can compete with anybody.
You can.
But with this defense, you will compete with anybody.
Right.
Every single last one of these teams is going to be a competitive matchup for you because your defense is going to do their best to keep the other team in the game. Probably the worst day we've seen on defense so far, I would say, Bryan. The Carolina Panthers, man, they weren't a team that was supposed to put up 30 points on you, Bryan. They weren't supposed to drive up and down the field. I guess the big talk around the nation, I'll get some of your input in on this right now, Bryan. Some of the talk of the nation there is, is Flus, is players. I think they both can wear this.
Yeah.
Me personally, I would put a lot more responsibility on the play caller, because there are certain things you can't ask certain guys to do.
Right.
But he doesn't. On that same token, Rico Dowdle has nothing to do with Flus's play calling. What Rico Dowdle was able to do and the lack of tackling and bringing him down and people bouncing off of him, that ain't Flus.
Right.
That's those guys. I don't know if you chalk that up to effort. I don't think these guys just rolled out the bed not knowing how to tackle.
Right.
I don't think Rico rolled out the bed some all-pro Derrick Henry type running back, Bryan Broaddus, but it was a very messy day. We could talk about good things from the offense towards the end of the show for about 6 minutes because not much happened.
Right.
But most of this is going to talk about, most of the show is going to be about how your defense is bad enough to keep Carolina in that game for you, Bryan.
Yeah, I think that when you really look at it and you sit down and you break down things, there's things that Matt Eberflus wanted to do in this football game, and it came very clear to him. The very first play of the game, though, if you just kind of just maybe think, okay, this is foreshadowing to what potentially could happen, Rico gets the ball and they bring Wanye Thomas down on a fill, like almost like a blitz, and as an extra guy in the box, and he comes clean and doesn't make the tackle. Could have been a tackle for loss, could have been a no gain, but that would at least started you in the right direction. Instead, you missed that tackle, and then it's a 9-yard gain. Carolina did a really nice job when it came to their ability. What they did in this game is they were able to single block Kenny Clark. They doubled the threes is what they did. They went after Oso Digizua in this game. So what they did was they just mashed on the smaller guy, took the opportunity with their bigger body guys, and just went one-on-one with Clark. So you had some fits that way where all of a sudden you're like, oh, how is Dallas going to play this? Dallas later in the game tried to go with the way that Carolina was having success running the football. They went to a base defense. They brought Maris Leofau into the game and tried to handle things with the base. There were some run stunts that they had that where they got the run stunt how they wanted it, but then all of a sudden maybe a linebacker overran his gap. So there's things in this game when you're looking at it from a perspective. If you just sit down and watch Rico Dowdle run the football, because Voch, clearly that's where I think this game, Carolina, we talked about this. Carolina's path to victory was going to be running the football. That's where it was at. But then, they were able to make some plays as well. You didn't nearly pressure nearly enough, but Dallas tried to do some things run fit wise in this game that just did not work. And it did not work because of the way you were playing some of the fits. Yeah. The double teams were a problem. The fits were a problem. The physicality or lack of was. Now, there were some times where you had guys taking on double teams and things will work out and you get in the right gap and a linebacker makes a play. But, James, Murray, Leofau, Thomas, when you got these fits, Wilson, all these fits, there was one of your best fit players actually was little Stewart, your little nickel corner.
Reddy was good.
Reddy was, when he had to play in the box, he was trying his best to be a fit player, a fill player. But man, Carolina did a great job. There were some times too where they doubled they doubled the three. They get a puller. Now they've got guys, they've got the three technique pushed. They've got the linebacker overrunning the play. There was a lot of space for them to run this football. And Rico Dowdle a couple different times did a pretty good job of making some cuts when things were filled on the front side. Backside was really just there was just too much space because linebackers were trying to fill so hard to the front side that it left things open on the backside. So run defense was really, really poor in a lot of ways. And like I say, Flus's answer for this was some run stunts, some fills, and it just didn't work out for him.
Brian, I wonder if the Panthers and their coaching staff, if they looked at some old Cowboys film and they saw how the Rams and 49ers, dealt with the Cowboys front line, what they'll do, just like you said, Brian, is they'll double team the ones and the threes, bro.
Right.
But what that means, this goes back to winning you one-on-ones. The edges can't get blocked by tight ends, Brian.
Yeah.
You can't have your Sam, who played a whole bunch. Clowney didn't play a whole bunch.
No.
James Houston didn't play a whole bunch.
Right.
Donovan Ezaraku, you feel like he's getting better every week. But Sam many times was just getting blocked by some tight end, bro.
Yeah.
You can't have him losing that where you would think you win the mismatch there, bro.
Yeah, no, that Carolina got into some 12 personnel stuff too that really caused Dallas some problems there. And you mentioned the edges and how they played. The Clowney, there was one time where they did a really good job of pinning your guys. When I say pinning them, I mean that the play was designed to go, say, to the outside, and they did a great job of taking your edge, knocking your edge down inside, doubling your defensive tackle, pushing that inside. The linebackers are now trying to fight blocks to get over there, but there was just that natural space. There was a lot that you lost, and there were some times, like I say, where the linebackers were overrunning some of the plays and overrunning some of the fits. And, and then, like I say, safety, whether it was Thomas, Wilson, these guys, it just wasn't as clean as it needed to be to stop. And then you go back and you look at what happened with Carolina throwing the ball, some of the miscommunications that they had, the Cowboys. One of the Ted McMillan touchdown was to the into the back of the end zone, but you get a motion across and then you get some confusion between Diggs and Wilson on who's got who. Diggs ends up covering a tight end where Wilson is now dealing with Ted McMillan. That's probably a bad mismatch for Dallas. You could clearly see it on tape where all of a sudden the motion comes across, everybody's adjusting, and then you see Diggs is like, say, stop to Wilson, and Wilson stops, but now he stops, but now he has to get back to the outside, and now he's locked on one-on-one with McMillan instead of having a corner on him, and then you got Diggs. So they did some things formation-wise to put your worst cover players on their better receivers.
Honestly, Brian, I'm just watching film as we're talking about it. I feel like this wouldn't have been a bad game for Sanborn to play because it wasn't a whole bunch of wide where he had to run to the outside. No. Most of it was just running right at him, running right at the defense, and I think Sanborn would have been fine there. People are going to ask about the linebackers. James doesn't miss tackles. Brian, he may get the tackle later than you want him to get it. He may overrun something sometimes. Louisville will really overrun something. Right. But maybe that's because he starts off so wide, Brian. That might be like he has a longer distance to travel. So maybe that's why he
that's how
runs the place.
Yeah, Leofau had to make a couple of plays where Leofau was the left outside linebacker, and he was playing at some depth and got some width, and then all of a sudden the ball was going to his right, and then it breaks back to him, but he had to make some long runs. It was a couple of times too. I shouldn't say a couple of times. There was one time where I was really confused about James, is that they're running a zone play, and it's like James takes off in coverage. He's carrying a route, and the ball is going inside. It's like he didn't play with really any awareness. It's like all of a sudden he's playing some type of man coverage, and then the play fools him where he's running with a receiver, and then the ball's back to the inside. I'm like, whoa, what's going on with that? So yeah, it just I think there's some communication problems here in week 6. I think there was just yesterday, there was some physical problems that you had, that Carolina put you in some situations scheme-wise where they were able to take advantage of you.
This is going to sound crazy, Brian, so don't beat me upside the head when I say this. I had a feeling that the run defense was going to look the way it looked.
Sure.
And if Rico is slowly beating you down throughout throughout the course of a game, you can pretty much, we saw that coming, Brian.
Right.
It's the passing game stuff.
Yeah.
The huge plays.
Yeah.
That really kill you, Brian. I'll just start it like this. There's going to be 3 names that we're going to be talking about today, Brian. We're going to be talking about Flus.
Right.
We're going to be talking about Donovan Wilson.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about Murray.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to revolve around those names a whole bunch. But we're going to start with Flus, though. And Flus never texts us back, so maybe it's bad.
Yeah,
I tell people all the time, cover 3 in the pros is similar to cover 3 in high school.
Right.
If you're a team that's been running cover 3, you've been running cover 3 your whole life. If you're a corner, you've been running deep thirds your whole life, Brian. It's the passing along, the disguises, the leverage plays, all this kind of stuff. The plays where 3 DBs or like a linebacker, corner, and safety are working in tandem to pass a combination along, Brian. Do you think that, I know you said, or they've said, that Flus is air quote dumb things down for this crew. You still think it's overcomplicated a little bit, Brian?
No, I really don't.
Yeah.
I really don't. The things that bother me is, go back to the Dowdle, the touchdown where he runs the wheel out of the backfield, and he's up the field, and Dallas, it looks like they're playing in a cover 3, so they're playing thirds of the field, and I really don't know where everybody's fitting here, because then looks like there's some confusion with Murray where he's at. He kind of hovers in that area where you see the linebackers kind of separate, and you wonder, okay, well, who's supposed to carry that running back? You see on that side of the field, you see Bland kind of widens, you see the safeties like in the middle of the field, and there's really nobody adjusts to the back. So I wonder what the situation was between, and you mentioned the names, between Bland, between Wilson, between also with Murray. Yeah, to me, there's just too much of that where there's these openings because of to me, playing cover 3 is a pretty simple thing. It's something that there's nothing complicated about it at all. There were things that it should be, pretty buttoned up to what your technique is. And then, was Murray confused? Was Bland supposed to do something? Where was Wilson on the play? But to have the running back run through that area without any type of coverage is really inexcusable.
Brian, do you think this is a scheme issue or a play calling issue?
It's a good question. I think there are times they're not good enough as players. Mm-hmm. I think at times you have players that just aren't good enough. Mm. Now, I will say this, though. This is where, to me, the rubber meets the road. And I've asked you this question before. What are the offensive coaches doing that the defensive coaches aren't doing?
Sure.
And so now I'm in a situation where, listen, if you don't understand the limitations of your safety, you don't understand the limitations of your linebacker, you don't understand the limitations of your corner, and you continue to do things to try and continue on doing things that doesn't work that way, then that's on the play caller. You could teach scheme and all that and say, hey, we have to do this, but if you're not very good at it, or you're showing that you're struggling that way, then you need to do something different. The offensive coaches have figured out something about their players to be able to make them have success. Now, we'll get into the Cowboys running game. I have a theory why, and the tape showed me why Dallas struggled running the football yesterday. But as you look at the defense, these defensive coaches, I don't feel like are playing to any strengths that their defense has. We've yet to see anything. They're continuing to ask them to do things, put them in coverage situations. The double move on Wilson, we've talked about this for weeks. The double move by Ted McMillan on Wilson at safety is a bad coverage situation for Wilson. He slips on the play. He slipped a couple of different times in that game in some coverage stuff. And I wondered if he was having a shoe problem, but it might be a talent problem there, especially when it comes to coverage.
You know, Brian, watching Bryce Young, he was really bad versus the blitz.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not just saying like pressure like we're bringing forward, because the Cowboys never get pressure in that way. But I mean, like, whenever you blitz, he got that Jalen Hurts thing, that Justin Fields thing, where he just looks down
high level
and try to find a way out.
Right.
We blitzed, 5 times?
Yeah. And one time it got home. The one sack you had in the game was Liufau. Yeah.
We blitzed 5 times. Right? So that makes me ask. Yeah, you got some goofy communication problems, right?
Right.
As a coordinator, can you go, all right, I won't call the plays where Murray got a stall for a second, is empty, and read the backfield like something going on back there to try to bait a slant just to go beat the slant.
Yeah.
You're not asking, you don't want to ask Murray to do that. Or any kind of play situation. I know they want to be multiple, or any play situation where Wanye's the down guy and Wilson's the deep guy.
Right.
Because they still do that.
Yeah.
Any play where Wilson got to pass guys along and think
along the way. Yeah.
All this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call that. Yeah. Anytime where you're just rushing for guys, no stunts.
Yeah.
Just rushing for guys.
Right.
No blitz. I wouldn't call that.
Yeah.
And I don't even coordinate defense.
Right.
I'm going to do it with a camera and microphone, bro.
Yeah.
Even on the opposite side, when I say I have somewhat of an expertise in offense, as a dude observing defense, I'll go, I probably would have blitzed that guy a little more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I probably wouldn't put Murray in space. I probably wouldn't put Donovan Wilson in space. That's just what I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Brian. But Flus does those things. Do you have a theory on that? I know you got a theory on offense, but can you just entertain me, please, Brian?
Yeah, that's, to me, when you look at Flus, especially in yesterday's game.
Pardon me, because if that's the case, wouldn't that be a reason to fire him? Let somebody else do it.
Right.
Keep the same book.
Yeah.
The same plays.
Right.
But let somebody else call it different. Pardon me for cutting you off.
No, it's quite all right. I understand the passion a lot of people out there, and I understand the passion you have for this too. This was really unfortunate. They never got in a situation where they were able to stay ahead of the sticks. Carolina had 27 first downs in that game. They only had like 8 situations where they got into a third down. They had a ton of conversions on second down, first down. They were outstanding in this game when it came to that. I think that by their ability to run the football took Dallas out of any type of real pass rush situations. They never. Now, the 4th and 4, I believe in that Flus, I think Flus knew what they were going to run. I do. If that's maybe Leighton Vander Esch playing Mike linebacker.
Yeah.
If that's Sean Lee maybe playing linebacker. If that's Dat Wynn playing middle linebacker, maybe there's not that hesitation and you get over there and knock that ball down. But that's Kenneth Murray, who's struggled. Kenneth Murray has struggled. And it goes back to the things that we're talking about. But yesterday's game, Carolina did such a great job of winning on first down that it never got to a third down situation where you could bring blitzes. You could be. Dallas, as the game wore on, you could see Dallas was more concerned with every play about trying to stop the run, loading boxes. So it never got down to that was probably the most comfortable that Bryce Young has ever been throwing a football because of how good that Carolina running game was yesterday. And I think a lot of it has to do with they just never got Carolina in any situations where they could bring blitzes or, do some of the things that they did against the Jets where, Osa and Thomas on one side and then bring loopers and stuff like that. They just did not. They made this a very easy game for Bryce Young and Dave Canellis with their ability to run the football.
Now, Brian, Paul Alexander got fired in week 8, I believe.
He did.
Man, do you just keep running your defense out there like this? Because what I don't want to do, is lose the locker room.
Yeah.
And the season just goes to shit, right?
Yeah, sure.
At least if you're the head coach, right? At least what you can sell yourself on is, man, look, we can play some offense. Look at the numbers. We got the number, man. We could play offense with anybody. If we just shore one or two things, then we can be competitive with whoever. You know what I'm saying? But when you aren't making changes and you go out against the Carolina Panthers, a team that you should be dominating,
right?
Offense they did that you should be dominating, Bryan. I think it's easy for a locker room to get that message and kind of get lost on it a little bit, right? Because it's Carolina. Like, hey, oh man, and you know, don't be watching Lions and Chiefs last night,
right?
Because you got to play both those teams, and they look great on offense. So you just translate that into what we do. It's curtains, Bryan. I know what we would do, right? But what do you think the Joneses are saying right now? What do you think the conversation is in their Monday meeting when Shotty got to go in there with the Jones in them? Like what does that sound like right now?
Well, this is a very difficult situation for the Joneses because they're likely the ones that recommended Matt Eberflus to Brian Schottenheimer. You know, they're likely the ones like, hey, what about Flus? What about, you know, I talked to Mike Zimmer about this. You know, Mike Zimmer was in a situation where he was like, listen, I would love to have stayed, but I'd love to have stayed as the head coach. You know, and when they didn't offer him that opportunity, then he was gone. So now it came into the Joneses. Well, what about Matt Eberflus? Well, everywhere he's been this coordinator. He's done great. He's all these things. I think that Matt Eberflus should share a lot of this blame. I think these defensive coaches should share a lot of this blame. I think it's a personnel problem. I think some of the things that you are expecting from these players. I think the Cowboys on defense have over-evaluated some players. I think there's some guys on this defense that aren't capable of making plays like it needs to be made. And the fix is you can't get rid of all the players. The fix is you can get rid of the coordinator and see if things work differently that way. Yeah. I think the Joneses are at a pretty bad spot right now because they're the ones that, like I've said, that likely recommended Matt Eberflus to Brian Schottenheimer being a first-time head coach, walking in there and saying, hey, have you thought about defensive coordinator? Have you thought about Matt Eberflus? Do you want to talk to Matt Eberflus? You know, those are all kinds of things. So the Joneses might not be too quick to want to move on from Matt Eberflus, but the fact that Jerry Jones did not speak to the media post-game last night could be a little telling. You know, it could be that he doesn't want to see or say anything about a Matt Eberflus or about the way the defense played. He just wants to avoid that. He wants to avoid those questions. That's unfortunate, but they're going to have to answer these questions soon enough. Brian Schottenheimer is going to have to answer more questions. He tried to answer questions after the game. Nobody likes those answers. You know, I trust Flus. He has to say those things. But, yeah, this might be a situation. I go back to Brian Stewart when he was defensive coordinator here for Wade Phillips. Halfway through the season, Brian Stewart was no longer the defensive coordinator. Wade Phillips was calling. You don't have somebody in place. You know, Bobby Belt told me, what about Nick Sorensen, who's the special teams coach? He was the defensive coordinator in San Francisco. There's nobody on this staff right now that has that kind of. Even with Dan Quinn, you had a Joe Witt. You had guys, Mike Zimmer. You had guys in place. You know, that could be coordinators here. They don't have that ability right now, so it's going to be very, very difficult to fire him, I think.
You're not wrong. The players aren't good enough.
Right.
I think when we go through our offseason process, I think many of those guys are going to be gone.
Sure.
I do think there's a Band-Aid that can hold you over to the offseason process. And I don't think
the coordinator.
I don't think Flu's got that.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. I'm not trying to defend Matt Eberflus. Sure. I'm really not, because Matt Eberflus's inability to look at his team and say, "Oh, I'm just going to continue to put Donovan Wilson in coverage situations," is
stubbornness. That's the problem.
It's football criminal. Is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can look at you look at your team and you don't think you can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's bad on your part. Really bad.
It's a big problem, Bryan Broaddus, but we all gonna just keep watching film, keep breaking it all down.
Yeah.
it's gonna suck, Brian. But hey, offense is gonna put up points, and defense is going to give them.
Yeah.
And look, I hope we're not just putting this all on Overshawn. I hope it's not just
Unfortunately, it will be. Unfortunately, it will be. And see, now you got to get to the point too where are you still interested in making trades?
Mm-hmm.
Are you still interested in going out and trying to help this team?
I'm keeping those picks.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Are you do you feel like that adding one or two players could be a difference with the guys that you're getting back? That's the part I think we're going to have to see.
All right, y'all, we're going to take a quick break, and Brian's going to tell us about Tailgate USA.
Yeah, and Tailgate USA, they are the presenting sponsors today, and thank you so much to them for being a part of that. Tailgate like a pro with this crew. They've got turnkey trailers, mobile bars, catering pop-ups. They handle the setup, the cleanup. So all you do is have to show up. Voch, you're all about that, right?
Sure.
Just show up and have a good old time.
That's it.
For the perfect game day in your town, for birthdays, corporate events, watch parties, more. And even in, just think about them, just being out there in that setting. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can use Tailgate USA for today. But in this December, we're running a giveaway, and we're going to scan this QR code right there. And for the details of that, and be sure you're booking at tailgateusa.net. Tell them that Bryan Broaddus sent you for VIP pricing and in your bookings. Should be a lot of fun. Make sure you're checking out our friends at Tailgate USA.
They got grills and stuff?
They got everything. They got everything. I mean, when you start talking about having a tailgate party, sure, they've got everything. I mean, you just show up and you be the life of the party. You're that guy. You're the life of the party.
Fire starters.
They got it all. They got it all.
Shouts out to Tailgate USA, Bryan Broaddus. Thank you very much, sir. The offense, we can say some good things about them.
Yeah.
This is what I'm not gonna do, Brian. Look at my damn camera. This is what I'm not gonna do. Look, man, the last drive on offense was weird.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. I'm sure a play caller is going to look at that and probably have some reservations about it. Should you have probably run Javonte Williams up the middle as opposed to run him to the outside? Yeah, probably. Should you have not run Javonte at all because it seems like the run game wasn't working?
No.
But you was doing what you wanted to do with Pickens and Dak? Yeah, probably. Probably so. When you dirt the ball, should Javonte have just dropped it so that you could save some yards? Sure. When you backed up like that, coaches typically run, jailbreak screens, slow screens to try to get big yardage back. I understand that. We can't blame this on Dak Prescott in the offense, though.
No.
There's no way we could do that.
No, yeah.
There's not a world where you can ask any unit to be perfect, let alone a unit without CeeDee Lamb, without all you guys, whatever. And I do think not having Booker and BB caught up to him a little bit. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about it. But Brian, I'm just seeing people on social media. They're just saying Dak's name in a way that's not flattery. Kick rocks, man. Kick rocks. I almost cussed, but we just read a fantastic read for Tailgate USA that I don't want them to see this part.
Yeah.
Dog, you can't blame this on Ford. You can't blame this on Ford. They had a weird drive, but the defense has been weird all season for 6 games up to this point. You know what I'm saying? Now, we could just run down the offense real fast. Run game didn't get going too much.
Yeah.
Hey, that's going to happen sometimes. Sometimes. I would have wanted the head coach to just pivot and just say, all right, we're just going to throw the ball today.
Yeah.
Because I think we would have benefited from just keeping the ball in Dak's hand. So then when the defense goes, all right, well, we got to do extra to take the pass away, that's when you can run the football. Your wide receivers, we can talk about Flournoy again, Brian, because he got 6 targets to Tolbert's 1. I think all this is kind of telling us what they kind of think about Flo as opposed to Tolbert. I tweeted it and I said, hey, man, Tolbert's turned into the Noah Brown dirty work guy. We could talk about that in a little bit, Brian. Schoonmaker had 2 targets. That's kind of making me sick a little bit. I'd rather that be Brevin because when he's blocking, when he touches the ball, he seems to be a little better. And George Pickens is phenomenal. I want to give him some money right now. Call David Mulugeta right this instant because that's how I feel. Brian, what you think about the Cowboys offense?
Well, I'll tell you what, though. To me, it was surprising that Dallas' inability to run the football, but they were looking for balance yesterday. They were going to try and do their best they can to do replicate what they did against the Jets, kind of try to get that 50-50 split. This is where Carolina got you in this game. Carolina got you up front. What they did, Voch, what's the one thing when you watch the Dallas Cowboys scheme-wise that they do very, very well?
What they do very well?
Yeah, and when they run the ball with their offensive line.
They trap really well. They pull really well.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is what happened to you yesterday.
Yeah.
Carolina did a great job of penetrating. When Dallas wanted to pull, when Dallas wanted to bring a backside guard, or they wanted to bring Hunter Lipke, or they wanted to bring a tight end, Dallas has been really good at getting push, getting the guy in the hole, clean things up, and then have Williams run in the hole. Yeah. That's where they've been really good. Carolina kept you from doing your pull game yesterday. They kept you from running the ball with penetration. And by getting upfield, it threw off your timing of your blocks, and you weren't able to get blockers to the point of attack. Thus, when you don't do that, then all of a sudden what happens? That guy on block makes a tackle. Carolina did a great job. You got to give Brown, both Browns, Robinson, credit. You got to give them a lot of. They were able, Jones. They were able to win up front, and when they're beating tight ends, when they're beating there were a couple of times there where they tried to, like Tyler Smith tried to push Robinson to Hoffman, and he didn't push him long enough. And all of a sudden now Hoffman is not able to get in front, and now Robinson's in the hole, but Smith's up on the second level. Williams has got nowhere to go. The combination blocks, the double team blocks, the things that Dallas had been really, really good at this year completely fell apart in this football game.
And Brian, people may ask, why is continuity important for offensive linemen?
Yeah.
Because Tyler Smith may feel like, oh, BB got that guy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave a little early because BB normally's got that guy.
Right.
Or, Booker and Terrence. Terrence will go, oh, I know Book can handle this. Oh, I know. Or even with the tight end. Man, it was just one play, Brian. I got to use my imagination here. Right tight end, motion.
Yeah.
Kind of like the fullback. Blue was at running back.
Right.
Tight end blocked this end. The tight end that was on the other side pulled and trapped.
Right.
The guy that Hoffman was blocking or whatever.
Right.
Hoffman leaves. Hoffman can't block Princely on the back end.
Right.
Princely runs down Jadon Blue.
Right.
Negative yards. That might be a positive play for, if BB.
Oh, yeah.
Or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think the backup offensive line, I don't want to say that they came down to earth because I knew this the whole time, Brian.
Yeah.
But I think they kind of ran out of superpowers.
Right.
Because when teams account for the idea that you're compromised there, now that's when you got to be big and strong. There's no more surprises now.
Right.
And Hoffman and Bass, their job isn't to be big and strong. Their job is to hold it down till somebody else, gets healthy again. They can be strong, but they surprise you and you ain't, you know what I'm saying? They can do some good stuff for a game or two, but their DNA ain't big and strong. BB and Booker's DNA is big and strong. So when it's time to pull, you need those down blocks and all this, and the combo downs, you need those stuff to stay at the line of scrimmage. Penetration blows all this other stuff up, Brian, bro.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys, which is probably why Shotty decided to run the ball outside late in the game, Brian.
Yeah.
Because it got so tore up in the middle, Shotty said, well, let's just try outside. It didn't work.
Right.
Hats off to Carolina there.
Right.
But what normally works, it didn't work this time. You just didn't have enough push in the middle.
Carolina, let's be honest, too, there was a couple of different times where Dallas ran the ball and Carolina, Williams had a bad read. There were some times where maybe he should have stayed front side. There was the one time they do on the right side, the left side, they get Hoffman and Bass, they get their blocks, so they get push, and then they get Steele up on the linebacker. There's a crease right there off that left side, and Dak hands the ball to Williams, and instead of what Williams normally would do would be to push the hole and try and get 4 or 5 yards, and then but he didn't. He bounced the ball thinking backside, and this is down in the tight red zone area. Like he takes the ball and instead of pushing it and getting the positive yards, he tries to cut it back, and they don't do a good job on the back side. Whereas if he would have stayed front side and pushed that, but he's had days where he's been really good reading the blocks and getting in there and getting 4, 5, 6 yards and then getting to the next play. Instead, he tries to kind of bounce it back instead of stay front side, and now it's a gain of it's a -2 run. So there were times with the way the scheme was, and then also too their inability to, like I say, they didn't get the double team blocks they normally do, and their pullers got thrown off path because of the penetrations they had in the game.
Cowboys offense seems like they're gonna put some faith in Flo moving forward, Brian. This is another game where he out targeted Tolbert and even got a carry here, got a rush for 3 yards. I just think that's another theme. That's just when you see guys that are constantly getting the looks there, when the offense is running plays designed for Flournoy to do something, Brian. I think the Cowboys like his athletic ability and his physicality and his size, Brian.
Yeah.
I'm assuming moving forward when Lamb and Turpin comes back, I don't think Flo is going away.
Yeah, I don't think Flo's going away either. It's just we'll see how things kind of play out with the wide receiver room. I know we've had a lot of discussions about that. I mean, this is my tailgate tip of the day for you right there, though. They're going to have some problems with how they're going to navigate. Now, it might be just simply take Tolbert out, but you're right. Tolbert does a lot of the dirty work stuff. But I'm saying this in a way of he does dirty work stuff, but he doesn't always do dirty stuff well. Sure. And, that's where, okay, now does it mean do you have a bigger body in Mingo when you do those pulls and he's going up inside and he's supposed to be responsible for a linebacker and he doesn't hit anybody? Is that going to be now something that we see that Mingo takes over? So I'm very, very interested to see how they navigate this wide receiver room once all these guys start to come back. I do feel like, though, that Tolbert might be the guy that might be the odd man out here. And I'm not saying this, people out there like, oh, Broaddus, you hate Tolbert and all that. No, I felt like, hey, got Dak as a sponsor. Dak kind of likes him. I know we talked about that all last week. But I wonder if the front office is going to say, listen, we've got to do something different here. We're going to see if Mingo can be that guy once he comes back.
I'm looking at the Jaden Blue runs, Bryan Broaddus.
Yeah, it was.
He's got 2 games now where he just couldn't get going in the run game.
Man, it's Deuce Vaughn preseason looking football, or maybe not. I mean, maybe they put Deuce Vaughn in some of those games, and he's like, there's just no blocking for him. I mean, there's no chance for him.
I think on a couple of these over the last 2 weeks, I think he has to kind of like trust his eyes a little bit, and just press, and not bounce, because this ain't Texas and this ain't preseason football.
No,
we could just bounce outside and just be faster than everybody. I think he's gonna have to trust his big guys in the middle. But yeah, not inspiring first 2 games for Jaden Blue, but Miles Sanders got injured, so you're gonna rock with him. I don't think the Cowboys are gonna make any big trades for a back or anything, Brian. I think they're going to roll with the guys that they got. Moffitt doesn't come back this year, does he, Brian?
I don't think so. I need to check on the Moffitt injury and see how that. He might be on the list to be out for the whole year. I need to check on that. I know some people are asking me about that. I kind of went out of sight, out of mind on that one, so I need to circle back on that.
Malik Davis, maybe he's on the couch ready to go.
Yeah.
And they kind of trusted he could just pop up and be ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got you, Bryan Broaddus. Hey, y'all, that is a dreadful breakdown of what the Cowboys did, but that's how they get down. That's what they do to us on these Mondays. I'm gonna pull some plays and break it down tomorrow, Brian, and we're gonna talk about some film a little bit more, and we're gonna break down the next game, the Washington Football Wizards. I'll be calling that all week. But that's a huge huge game for the Cowboys. And Bryan believes in desperate team theory. This is as desperate as the Cowboys have been
I think so.
all year. So we're definitely going to see how that plays out. Okay. Please tap in with our merch. We have it down in the description. Go over there, check that out. We got some good stuff up there. If you have a recommendation or like a request or something like that, if we see enough people say, hey, can we get Crown Global shoestrings? If 1,000 of y'all say it, then we'll call our people and we'll call y'all back and we'll see if we can get some Crown Global shoestrings. All right. Check our socials, Twitter, Instagram, and IG, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, pardon me. And that's Bryan Broaddus. I'm VOCHLOMBARDI. We'll catch y'all next time. All right. Peace.